Early child education is actually much more than preparing them for primary school, right? It has massive ramifications for their, socio-emotional skills, their affective skills, their overall cognitive and mental development, and how they relate to the larger world outside. We are probably catering to about 2.5 lakh students. As they transit from ECE to primary education and then to secondary education, there's a steep fall. The dropout rates are as high as 17 to 18%. Going to higher education, the gross enrollment ratio in India is still around 26-27%. There are about 3.4 lakh Anganwadis that still don't have toilets. And there are probably a lakh and a half that still don't have drinking water facilities.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Impact Insights, talk show about causes and effects. The Indian education system is one of the largest in the world, with children from varied socio-economic backgrounds. The biggest challenge has been to reach out to millions of inaccessible learners. The scale of the problem is very large due to the limited supply of quality educators, financial burden on poor families, lack of guidance, lack of quality infrastructure, gender inequality, awareness on importance of education, etc. To discuss more on the importance of education, challenges faced, as well as solutions for impact-driven investments into the sector, we have with us today Mr. Amit Dutta, the Chief Strategy Officer for the Education, Consulting and Skilling Business Vertical at the Ampersand Group. In his over 18-year consulting career, he has led several large and complex development sector programs with central government ministries, state governments, and several leading international development agencies, including the World Bank, UNICEF, USAID, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, etc. He is passionate about social impact and has dedicated his career to meaningful work contributing to nation building and sustainable development. Hi, Amit, and welcome to Impact Insights.
First of all, Tavishi, thanks for inviting me on your channel. Really excited about being here with you this evening. And of course, this is an opportunity to share a little more about the Ampersand Group.
I realized that ampersand is actually the and symbol. Quite fascinating. Is there a connection with why this name was chosen for the company? And also, what are the main activities undertaken by the company?
Rightly pointed out, I think the ampersand symbol is actually symbolic of what the group has been trying to achieve in the space of education and skill development. It's and a lot of things. And we are a vertically integrated company. So just a little bit more about the group. The group is actually most recognized or reputed in India, and it's better known for its Vibgyor group of schools, which has now built into a franchise of about 40 schools across 7 states. We have close to about 50,000 students, 5,000 teachers. And this is the most remarkable part about this entire journey for the group has been that this entire chain of schools has been built organically. And it has been done in-house. So right from construction of the schools to designing the curriculum, the pedagogy, the facilities at the school, the transportation services, teacher training, catering, whatever you may imagine, school supplies, all of them are actually under one roof. And we have become over time a vertically integrated organization in the space of education. So this was, in fact, the journey that we traversed for the first 15, 16 years of the group between, you could say, 2004 and 2017. But our founder, Mr. Rustam Kerawala, in the year 2017, had this vision, and he was not content with being just running a private chain of schools, and a successful one at that. His larger vision was that how do you take quality education to the masses, make it more affordable, make it more accessible. One of the ways that dawned on him was clearly that there's no way one can do that, work on a scalable solution without working closely with the government as an implementation partner. So that's when we started this new trajectory towards becoming an implementation partner of choice with the government. And we invested early with some innovative pilots. We made some commitments to projects which were in the areas of Anganwadis, Balwadis, upgradation of Anganwadis, Balwadis, teacher training. And we did a couple of projects of that nature with state governments. And over a period of time, we built our profile and credentials. And now we are involved in a number of path-breaking innovative projects across
Your focus being education, I really wanted to discuss the importance of early education as well as vocational skills, which is as important to shape the future of a child.
Right. No, that's a great question, Tavishi. And honestly, I mean, the way I look at education, the core purpose of education has always been and should always be, to maximize human potential and possibilities. Right. And you can add a whole list of, to build character, to, give us the ability to kind of discriminate, discern, develop critical thinking faculties. Also build the agility to adapt to the changes that are happening around us. And this is over a period of a lifetime. This is and these have to be engendered obviously from an early stage. Obviously, the focus in the early stages is largely around literacy and numeracy. But if you come to think of it, for children, early child education is actually much more than preparing them for primary school, right? It has massive ramifications for their socio-emotional skills, their affective skills, their overall cognitive and mental development, and how they relate to the larger world outside. The other point that I want to make is that, of course, that EC actually creates the bedrock or the foundation on which all future learning is based. This is probably the most incredible period for a child to learn and grow between the ages of, from infancy to probably the age of 8, where the foundational learning skills actually create the whole lattice work where they are able to then build higher order skills as they progress. On the vocational side of things also, that was the other aspect that you wanted to know. And I think it's now a well-recognized fact in India that traditionally schools and colleges have ignored any education which has kind of been oriented towards jobs or any kind of employment, right? And we are actually paying a price for that now. What we call as skill development interventions, which have been kind of really pivoted by the governments over the last decade. They are actually more of a remedial measure of where the formal schooling system has actually failed, right? And the fact that students, if they were to kind of get vocational skills much earlier, and today it's happening. The NSQF, the National Skills Qualification Framework, actually has a system where students of classes 9 to 12 in government schools are actually being imparted in vocational education. In fact, Ampersand is one of the largest players in that space. We are probably catering to about 2.5 lakh students over 3,000 schools in 20 states. We are probably the largest in that space. But we find this to be so important because it's this particular intervention that gives the confidence to the students when they are right out of school to say that, yes, I can be a capable, productive member of society. I can, really create change. They have much more confidence when they've learned vocational skills as opposed to coming out of school and college.
Right. But one can't help but think about those for whom it is a privilege to even be able to attend a good school, or for that matter, continue with their studies. Can you highlight some of the key challenges faced by underprivileged when it comes to education?
I think most of, India's, the larger majority of the population, today, they have a challenge in accessing education. We are still a very privileged few, if you look at the way we are able to transit from one stage of education seamlessly to the other, that's not a reality for the larger masses, if you see, because many youth drop out of school because of financial constraints at home. So this is a very interesting statistic. Almost 8 out of 10 children in India today have access to some kind of early child education, right? Even if they are in villages, they're probably going to one of those, Anganwadi centers. There are close to about, I think 1.3 odd million Anganwadis across the country. And the Ministry of Women and Child has an integrated child development scheme where they get nutrition, they get early child inputs, all of that is there. But, as they transit from ECE to primary education and then to secondary education, there's a steep fall from class 8 onwards, where, I think the dropout rates are as high as 17 to 18%. And if you just look at the next dimension, when going to higher education, The gross enrollment ratio, even after decades in India, is still around 26-27%, which means that a majority of the students are exiting formal education, at that particular stage. And most of the times the reason is either financial constraint directly, where, the parents can't afford the education, or the pressure on the boy or girl to, become independent much sooner and to start contributing to the family's income, right? So that aspect is, of course, quite disturbing when one looks at, for the underprivileged. There are many other factors that come into play. Without a doubt, even today, school infrastructure in, India's villages or tier 2 cities is still abysmal, right? And even with respect to aspects of, while over the decades, the pupil and teacher ratios have improved, but you still have a very, very big gap out there, in terms of attendance of teachers. Look at the general infrastructure that is available. In fact, I was reading a very shocking number in the Anganwadis themselves. There are about 3.4 lakh Anganwadis which still don't have toilets. And there are probably a lakh and a half which still don't have drinking water facility. So these are all very, very telling facts about, the state of education there for the underprivileged. Coming to another aspect in this regard, if you look at, the lack of digital infrastructure, I think what we really experienced in COVID in a major way was the setback that education had to experience. Probably 50-60% of the children were able to barely cope. And in many cases, I know my domestic health's child, had to stay at home with the mom's phone, to attend her classes while the mom was at work. And it involved a lot of inconvenience. There are a couple of other things that, I would want to bring to light would be, and these are all related. One is the issue of malnutrition as well, right? Most of the children who do not get adequate nutrition till the age of 5, their growth is stunted, their cognitive and mental development is also affected. That was a very revealing fact. That means, all the investments we are making, we may not still get optimal results because we've not taken care of, nutrition at the right point of time. So I think underprivileged, communities actually have that major challenge as well. One of the other things that I've experienced in my career while working in the area of skill development is that people who are from very remote areas, when they are skilled and when they are given opportunities to probably, take up a job, they drop out at multiple stages. One, of course, I mentioned to you, while they are training, they might lose interest, or they might realize that the skill or this training is not aligned to my interest, right? They've probably done it under peer pressure. They've seen some guy from the village, take up a job learning that, and then they feel that maybe this is the right thing to do. The second thing that might typically happen is that they have gone through the training, but when it comes to assessments, either they may not turn up, or quite likely they may not clear the assessment. If they clear the assessment, it's quite likely that they may not turn up to take the job offer, because the job offer is in a place which is quite remote, like going from Jharsuguda in Orissa to Surat, or right on the other end, where they are just not acclimatized to the dietary habits, the climate, etc. Most of these people, even if they go, they are more likely to kind of beat a retreat and come back to their villages. They want to do something which is closer to their village, because they know that's always a fallback option. They can always get back to the field. Even at a lower income, they are far happier when they are closer to home. So these are some of the challenges which don't have easy solutions. There are creative solutions that will have to be thought about for taking it to the most marginalized. On that particular point of marginalized, I think I had spoken to you about what we are trying to do in Karnataka. The children of these not migrant, but generally the construction and other workers, right? If you look at their working conditions, they work in appalling physical conditions on the construction site. They're either at a labor camp or probably at a construction site where they don't have sanitation facilities, let alone a school or a learning facility. Now, even if they were to get access to a school by chance, they are not able to kind of study continuously there, because their parents have daily wage work. They are moving from one place to another. Within 6 months, within 10 months, they could be in another location. So we came up with this proposal to the Building and Other Construction Workers Board in Karnataka, and it's kind of taken off quite well. We are helping them set up about close to about 100 daycare centers or creches, as you may call it, across all the districts of Karnataka. And the offering is going to be more or less uniform. You're going to have absolutely modern daycare facilities, which maybe we send our children to, which will have a smart TV, will have good content, will have trained teachers and helpers, right? And we realize that a small intervention like that can have such dramatic results. We are yet to see the long-term impact of that. But what that means is that, when this laborer moves from this construction site to another, he can possibly expect a similar daycare center of similar standards even there for his child, right? And between the ages of 0 to 6, the child gets what any other child should expect to get, right? So this is our way of looking at the problem. We want to solve such problems, and that's what we are trying to do.
Thank you, Amit, for sharing these key insights. We understand that early education and vocational skills are very important during the growing years of a child. Also, we need to take certain steps in order to help this reach the underprivileged as well, because they also have equal right to opportunities. So everyone, stay tuned for our next episode, where we will continue our discussion with Amit on CSR in the education space, as well as innovative ways of spending funds for the desired outcome.